Oh, so that's how we did it. Let's talk about it, y'all. I feel like this is going to be a very, very interesting discussion in our community. Let's talk about it. Middle America.
Ever any. What are you people?
We're Americans.
We are Americans indeed. My name is Vincent, and this is Middle America with Vin and Sori, where we are not left wing, we are not right wing, we are just right. Today we will be talking about Mr. Trump's commentary relative to the ongoing crisis in Gaza. If you would like to follow up after this video, as well as any other video, you can like, share, comment, and subscribe. We also have a Facebook portal where you can join free of charge, facebook.com/America Middle. Keep in mind, it is a free speech environment, and these things get crazy. Just letting y'all know. I'm letting you know. Okay. So here we go. I got a message from the big homie, Matthew Maeda, who is one of the legendary folks on the, how do you call it? By the way, type 22 if you can hear me well. Type 22 if you can hear me well. Matthew Maeda is the main guy that runs the Middle America platform over on Facebook. He and I talk frequently, and he just sent me this text about Mr. Trump, and I got up and I looked it up and whatever. So I am going to be reacting to this. The first one I go to on this is the Black conservative perspective, because if there's a story, if a headline that makes a Republican look bad, I usually go to a Democratic source, and then vice versa. Okay, so this is a Republican-leaning site. So I'm gonna go ahead and assume that the people who are who voted for Trump or believe whatever, this is a biased view, but it's biased toward Mr. Trump. I was originally gonna sit on this until tomorrow, because I usually wait a day if something reckless gets said. But a lot of times when Trump says something, and then you read the fuller context, it doesn't really look as bad as people were initially claiming. But there are other times when Trump said something and it's actually worse than people were claiming. So we're going to be reacting to this together right now. Let me pull up this video. So this is the Black Conservative Perspective is the name of this this site, and the dude is like 100% Republican, Trump supporter, yada yada yada. And I have no problem with those kind of people. It's cool, but I want you guys to know that it's biased toward Trump because it looks to me like and by the way, that's literal. Call in if you disagree. It looks to me like the Trump folks are kind of supporting this out the gate, but again, this is such early breaking news that I can't really call it. All right, so let's check it out. Black Conservative Perspective discussing the Gaza Trump situation. Let's check it out. In a second.
Palestinians from Gaza.
Yeah, I would like to see Jordan. I'd like to see Egypt take some look. The Gaza thing has not worked.
A couple people mentioned that Trump said this yesterday. I have no issue with that statement. The least that the Jordanians could do is take in Palestinian refugees. The surrounding Islamic countries, by Islamic law, this is called Fard Ain. They're required by Islamic law to take these people in, especially considering they're also required by Sharia to fight on behalf of fellow Muslims if they're being persecuted. And we know that the Jordanians did nothing of the sort. So in my mind, the least the Jordanians can do for their brothers and sisters is take them in as refugees and treat them well. There is obviously Quranic, hadithic, and in Muhammadan examples up the wazoo about how you're supposed to treat your fellow Muslim when they're in a jam, especially if they got caught up in a jam by the hated Yahud. So a lot of people had a problem with Trump saying that. I have no problem with Trump saying that at all. We continue.
It's never worked. And I feel very differently about Gaza than a lot of people. I think they should get a good, fresh, beautiful piece of land, and we get some people to put up the money to build it and make it nice and make it habitable and enjoyable and make it a home.
They don't want to leave, though. Palestinians say they don't want to leave.
I don't know how they could want to stay. It's a demolition site.
See, right now, I'm confused. If Trump is saying the Jordanians and the Egyptians need to take these people in, and then we need to make the land inhabitable again, and then repatriate these Gazans, I think that's great. And if by we need to take over Gaza, he's saying that America is going to lead that charge, I think that's great. But I'm not clear about the repatriation part once they, because what he's saying is we're going to, we have Egypt and all these other people take in refugees. That's good. We need to rebuild Gaza and make it habitable again. That's good. But then the reporter says, well, what if they don't want to leave? And Trump is saying, well, I can't imagine why they wouldn't want to leave. And the only reason I'm saying that is because the only reason those people wouldn't want to leave in the current situation that it's in, because I think it was Kalinsky or somebody said, I mean, the Israelis dropped 2 A-bombs worth of munitions on the head of these Gazans. So it's inconceivable to me that they wouldn't want to leave, at least temporarily, until Gaza gets rebuilt, unless there's some sort of permanent thing happening. That's what I'm unclear on. We continue.
It's a pure demolition site. If we could find the right piece of land or numerous pieces of land and build them some really nice places with plenty of money in the area, that's for sure, I think that would be a lot better than going back to Gaza, which has had just decades and decades of death.
Where would those pieces of land be?
Well, they could be in Jordan, and they could be in Egypt, and they could be in other places. You could have more than 2, more than 1, but you could have more than 2. and you'd have people living in a place that could be very beautiful and safe and nice. Gaza's been a disaster for decades.
Would the U.S. pay for that?
I don't think the UN would pay, but I think there's plenty of people that would in the area. They have a lot of money.
Donald Trump.
I definitely see how somebody could say, this dude is talking about relocating all these people, you know, into the surrounding areas, and then I don't know what do you mean it hasn't worked out for them? What do you mean Gaza hasn't worked out? I think it's quite obvious why Gaza hasn't, quote, worked out, Mr. Trump. It's because our friends over there are doing horrible things to them and displacing them and beating the hell out of them, even though they don't have an air force. Like, it's not like Gaza is like this horrible place where Gaza's quite beautiful, actually. It's not like this horrible place where, like, you know, shit just keeps happening to people, you know, randomly, and it's just not working out. There are very specific reasons why it's not working out. So I don't know if, like, this is just him thinking on the fly. I don't know if this is, I don't know what's going on, but the communication style is, and the history of the man is such that at this point, both interpretations could be completely valid because, you know, Alan G says, I think it's a permanent thing. They want countries around the world to donate money to build neighborhood towns for Palestinians. The U.S. would redevelop Gaza and then control it. I definitely see a person interpreting that. You know, maybe a couple of my right-wing friends are going to say I'm crazy, but I don't think that's a crazy interpretation of his words. And he definitely should clarify it specifically, because if it sounds like this, CNN and everybody else are going to come out and say this is, you know what I'm saying? We continue.
The following: the United States will take over the Gaza Strip.
Okay, I don't remember hearing that in that one, but possibly, this is a 17-minute video, guys. Possibly we'll see another. This guy's usually pretty good about clips. Possibly we'll see another clip where that does get or addressed or said or whatever.
Let's make one thing loud and clear to Donald Trump, to Netanyahu, and to the Zionist entity: Gaza is not for sale. Palestine is not for sale.
I mean, you got to clarify this, Trump. Right? Like, you got to clarify, like, take over for relief effort, or maybe not clarify. Maybe that's what you really meant, bro. Like, I haven't seen an update for Trump on Twitter or whatever, or what's the other one? The Truth Social. I haven't seen like a repudiation or denial of this. It's hard for me to conceive that he's allowing this to kind of percolate like this without, you know, just dispelling the myth. You know what I'm saying? We continue.
Boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. So we got a major announcement from President Trump after his meeting with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. As you guys...
those people singing for Ali are probably Shia, which would probably make them, you know, friendly to Hezbollah. But, I mean, nobody cares. Apparently, there's a press conference with Bibi Netanyahu I keep seeing in the comment section. So, like I said, this guy's really good with videos, so hopefully we can see that too, because maybe that's where the statement was made.
Should know, everybody should be aware that President Trump achieved a ceasefire between Israel and Hamas just a few days before he took office. The Biden administration tried to take credit for it, but everybody knows that President Trump...
Yeah, ridiculous. Ridiculous. Biden. Ridiculous. We continue.
was responsible for the ceasefire. Now, at the time, I said that this is not over. I'm hoping that it will be over at the very least for the next 4 years, but I highly doubt that this is the end. Okay, and in fact, I had been warning about what would eventually happen. Okay, it wasn't about if, it was about when, and I got a whole lot of backlash for it, and we're going to talk more about it. We're going to get in more details, but first, I want to go ahead and play this video of the major announcement that President Trump made about what's going to happen in that region, which is that the United States, according to President Trump, is going to take over the Gaza Strip. As in, the U.S. is essentially going to occupy that area of land, push the Palestinians out by essentially making their neighbors, Egypt and Jordan, take in a vast majority of the refugees and then rebuild that area into basically Gaza Lago. Take a look.
I mean, this guy is he's a right winger. Like, he is pro-Trump. Literally, his channel is called Black Conservative Perspective. Like, this guy is extremely friendly to Trump. It's really interesting because this dude is usually funny. He laughs a lot, whatever. He looks kind of serious. So, look, man, I don't think this is one of those, the libs. Like, this dude is a Trump lover, and he's saying, I mean, he said more than I've heard any left-winger say. He's saying, we're gonna clear out these Palestinians, okay, and then we're gonna send them to Egypt or whatever, and then we're gonna excavate, fix Gaza, build it, whatever. Because remember, we've got the equivalent of 2 A-bombs that have destroyed that place. This guy is certainly interpreting it the way that the libs were interpreting it. So President Trump is moving so fast that media and the Dems can't focus. The second they start reporting on something, people get outraged. He's already done 3 other things. Yeah, but this is the flooding the zone stuff, right? Where it's flooding the zone. All right, so that's well, let's clarify a couple things here. One, the Gazans were happy when the ceasefire happened. They were all dancing in the streets. That's number one. So we're not going to pretend that the Gazans weren't happy. But I don't think they're going to be happy about this if what he says is even close. Look, this guy is somebody friendly to Trump, okay? So if this guy being this friendly to Trump is saying that that's how he interprets his words, then you cannot say, oh, the libs are just trying to twist this into something horrible, blah, blah, blah.
I strongly believe that the Gaza Strip, which has been a symbol of death and destruction for so many decades and so bad for the people anywhere near it, and especially those who live there, and frankly, who's been really very unlucky. It's been very unlucky. It's been an unlucky place for a long time.
Unlucky? What? Unlucky? I don't. Okay, if everybody that knows me knows that I'm not one of these TDS people. I'm not one of these Trump is the worst person in the world people. I'm not one of those people. Just go look at the record. I was one of the few voices, dear listener, that was speaking out against the Russiagate nonsense and all the rest of it. I don't even have a problem with Mr. Trump's revenge tour in the DOJ because I think it was a very clear example of the DOJ being used to weaponize against a political threat that the opposition party did not feel confident, and obviously for good reason, that they could win. So now that Trump is bringing hell to the DOJ and those people are scared, I'm glad, so that the next time somebody in some back office or whatever comes up with some plan of lawfare, legal lawfare, they're going to say, yeah, but if this guy wins, look what happened last time. I'm good with that. I hope he goes on a revenge tour. The Russiagate shit, somebody should be held accountable. But this is imperialism. This is imperialism. I am not Trump deranged. This is imperialism. If I'm interpreting this properly, and this is, people have been saying, what about the press conference? This looks like that press conference. If I'm interpreting this properly, this is just plain old American imperialism. And we're going to talk about how the Gazans have been unlucky. Unlucky is the adjective we're going to use to describe it. So were the Jews in Auschwitz unlucky? Those folks that was it the Tutsis over there in the Rwandan, were they unlucky? Are the Ukrainians unlucky? What are we talking about here? Unlucky. We continue.
So bad for the people anywhere near it, and especially those who live there, and frankly, who's been really very unlucky. It's been very unlucky. It's been an unlucky place for a long time. Being in its presence just has not been good, and it should not go through a process of rebuilding and occupation by the same people that have really stood there and fought for it and lived there and died there.
It should not be occupied again by the people who lived there, fought there, died there. Who's he talking about? Is he talking about occupy in the regular sense, as in like I'm occupying this house? So is he saying that the Palestinians should no longer be in Gaza because they've had a stretch of bad luck? Or is he talking about occupation in the political sense, in which case he'd be talking about the Israelis, and he would be saying America should occupy Gaza and not the Israeli. This is like the problem. I mean, both of these are seriously problematic, but this is one of my issues with Mr. Trump. It's very, very hard to divine what exactly he means in the situation. But whatever it means, it doesn't sound like we're centering Palestinian people and thinking about repatriating them. It does sound like he's talking about we should change the cast of characters as who's oppressing these people. So we should be able to oppress them directly instead of oppressing them by proxy through Israel.
And lived a miserable existence there. Instead, we should go to other countries of interest with humanitarian hearts, and there are many of them that want to do this, and build various domains that will ultimately be occupied by the 1.8 million Palestinians living in Gaza, ending the death and destruction and, frankly, bad luck. This is they have no alternative.
Okay. It looks like he's saying, you guys have been there for quite some time. Look how these Israelis have destroyed your lives and your livelihoods. Look at all the destruction. You guys had a good run at trying to be whatever over there, but you guys should just get absorbed into Egypt, Jordan, Syria, presumably, which is completely destroyed by war right now. We're just so like, how is that going to work? How are we going to ensure that all the families say, like, if this is the permanent condition of these people? This is the permanent conditions. We're just going to take these people out, and we're not going to... I haven't heard a word about repatriation yet. I know it's going to be in my comment section. People are going to jump on me for being anti-Trump. But that's the corner that he's painting himself into, and I don't see anything about repatriation right now. All I'm hearing is that the Gazans got to go. They had bad luck, and it needs to have new occupiers.
That will ultimately be occupied by the 1.8 million Palestinians living in Gaza, ending the death and destruction and, frankly, bad luck. This is they have no alternative. It's right now a demolition site. This is just a demolition site. Virtually every building is down. They're living under false.
We believe you, Mr. President. That's why nobody has a problem with you saying we should temporarily relocate these people, and considering us and the Israelis single-handedly destroyed these people, us and the Israelis are going to fit the bill. We're going to fit the bill. We're going to rebuild Gaza and then repatriate these people. That's what should happen. You just mentioned the humanitarian hearts of the surrounding Arab Muslim nations. So they're supposed to be humanitarians, and us and the Israelis are supposed to be the what? This is incredible. He's literally standing, 12 feet away from the guy who just slaughtered, 50 to 100,000 of these people? And all of that gets summed up in bad luck?
In concrete that's very dangerous and very precarious. They instead can occupy all of a beautiful area with homes and safety, and they can live out their lives in peace and harmony instead of having to go back and do it again. The U.S. will take over the Gaza Strip.
He just said, I think I just heard him say the U.S. will take over the Gaza Strip. He's talking about sending these people away. And then us taking over the Gaza Strip. So when he was talking about Occupy, he's saying, you Palestinians who's been there for 8, 9, 10, 15 generations, you guys just get absorbed into Egypt and all the rest of it, okay? And just disappear, 2 million of you just disappear. And then the Americans will okay.
And we will do a job with it too. We'll own it and be responsible for dismantling all of the dangerous unexploded bombs and other weapons on the site, level the site and get rid of the destroyed buildings, level it out, create an economic development that will supply unlimited numbers of jobs and housing for the people of the area. Do a real job, do something different. Just can't go back. If you go back,
let me just do some math here. We're going to take over the Gaza Strip. We're going to make sure that IEDs and all the other ordnance or whatever are cleared away. Then we're going to rebuild it. And that's going to provide unlimited jobs to the Palestinians that we're going to repatriate? No. It's to the people that are there. Well, who's there after we displace the 1.9 million Palestinians? Who is there in the area? Who is there? Well, Americans aren't there. Presumably, Palestinians will not be there. So let me get this. Let me get this straight. The Israelis, who continuously violate international law with their illegal settlements, instigate a conflict that had an episode in October 7th. I'm not discounting the horror of October 7th, but as I've said before, every able-bodied Israeli is conscripted into the military. So the civilian combatant distinction that many Westerners are used to don't necessarily apply there, at least to me. I'm just being real with you. The Israelis respond by massacring 50 to 100,000 Gazan men, women, and children. We've got Amnesty International reporting that they're finding rounds from sniper rifles in the back of children's heads. I have personally seen video evidence of unarmed Pali children sniped by the Israelis. Mr. Trump characterizes that entire struggle as unfortunate. Now I'm starting to see, this is how we got this peace deal done. Mr. Trump goes to Mr. Netanyahu and says, here's what's going to happen. You guys got to end this war. There's no way this can continue. It's just bad optics. All these people dying all over the place on Telegram and Twitter. Y'all can't. But here's what I'm going to do. We are going to occupy that place. You guys can't be the occupiers anymore because that will be seen as some sort of imperialistic horrible victory. But here's what's going to happen. We're going to occupy it. But we're going to clear out all the Palestinians, and then we're going to move in a bunch of people in the area, i.e. more Israelis. And that nice Jewish lady I saw about 3 or 4 months ago talking about beachfront property in Gaza, she will be able to fulfill her dream and live out her years in that wonderful beachfront property over there in Gaza. That's what this sounds like to me. That's what it sounds like to me. And again, please miss me with the "you're an anti-Trumper," blah, 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 blah. Go look at the vast majority of my Trump content results in people accusing me of defending the man. Okay? If you're pro-life, you have to celebrate the fact that the Palestinian child tonight is not worrying as much about whether or not a bomb is going to disassemble him alive in his house. But in the Old Testament, exile was almost equivalent to the death penalty. I'm not going to get too much into theology, but when Israel as a nation is exiled to Babylon, which is just Iraq, it is characterized as the death of the nation. Why? Because your national identity is inextricably linked to the physical land from which you came. And so when you have a collection of people and then they get redistributed to lands elsewhere, it's looked upon as a national death. So we have not killed, we are stopping the murder of individual Palestinian children, which is good. But we're talking about the national homicide of an entire indigenous group of people. In that sense, I'm not with the whole Hitler blah 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 blah. I made a clear distinction. There's a distinction between killing all these Palestinian children and murdering, massacring, beheading the national identity of 2 fucking million people. We don't see that, or no?
It's going to end up the same way it has for 100 years. I'm hopeful that this ceasefire could be the beginning of a larger and more enduring peace that will end the bloodshed and kill.
A larger and enduring peace, right? Because the people that have covetously, in contradiction to the commandments that they shared with the world, who coveted the land of these people, they get to actually fulfill that dream, but they don't get to own it with a capital O, because that's our property now. That's what we're talking about here. What's up, Mr. Andrew Thomas? Good to see you, baby.
Once and for all, with the same goal in mind, my administration has been moving quickly to restore trust in the alliance and rebuild American strength throughout the region, and we've really done that.
Trust in the alliance? Displacing 2 million indigenous people so that their lecherous neighbors can rape the land? What the hell does that have to do with our neighbors all across the world? Like, who is calling you up and saying, bro, we need you to displace these Palestinians, man? What are we talking about here?
Respected nation again.
And Mr. President, given what you've said about Gaza, did the U.S. send troops to help secure the security vacuum?
So Saudi Arabia is going to be very helpful, and they have been very helpful. They want peace in the Middle East. It's very simple.
Saudi Arabia is going to be helpful. They're going to be very helpful. This guy just asked if he's going to send the military down there. Now let's do this math. Let's do this math. Let's do this math for a second. Why, in light of this announcement of this plan, would the United States need to send American troops to that area? Now, why? Now, call me dumb. The only reason I can think to send U.S. troops to that area in light of what this man just said and the way that his own people are interpreting it, it would be because Palestinians say, no, Gaza's not for sale. I buried my grandfather over there, my mother that you guys killed last week over there, and I'm going to be buried over there. We're not leaving. And when you have a situation like that, it is on the occupiers to say, we're going to invite you to leave again nicely. And the response was, the Saudis are going to do that. The Saudis are going to do that? You think that you could just go, and the Saudis are going to jam up their own Muslim people so that al-Yahudin can go and take their land? You're going to make Saudis do that. Now, number one, that's brilliant. You know, what does the Bible say? It says the serpent was more subtle than all the beasts of the field that the Lord God had made. That's brilliant. Because what's going to happen is, right now what you're seeing on TV all the time is a bunch of European-looking people who have a claim to the land, just jamming up all these brown people and doing all types of horrible shit to them. Terrible optics. The optics of American soldiers doing that to a helpless group of people, even worse. But if you can get you some brown Saudi Arabian Muslim nations, this is the capital. Remember Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he was born in Saudi, which is so freaking disrespectful that you would choose the Saudis to be the occupation force to destabilize and displace 1.92 million Muslim people. Y'all don't see the irony in that and the evil in that? I understand most of us aren't religious, but to me that's like completely blasphemous. But that's brilliant! Brilliant! All you people keep telling me that Trump is dumb. He's brilliant and the people around him are brilliant! You know what else this tells me? I do not believe that Mr. Trump would have name-dropped the Saudis unless he's already had a conversation with the Saudis. That is really, 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 really specific. Really specific. Bill says 60% of Jewish people in Israel are of Middle Eastern and North African descent. There is a reason they only show you the white Israeli faces. They are not even the majority, though. Yeah, but they're the ones with the majority of the power. So that's why you see those faces, because it's the Europeans and the people that look like them that still have that power. But regardless, this oh, Jesus, help me with this shit. I'm pretty sure this is the same Saudi Arabia that murdered and dismembered Jamal Khashoggi. Pretty sure that's the same country. I'm pretty sure this is the same country that has been running their own ethnic cleansing campaign. And these are brown people, so don't worry about it, pro-Ukraine people. It's not anybody you guys have to worry about. But these are the same Saudis who have been massacring the Yemeni over this Sunni Shia nonsense that's been going on since the death of Muhammad. This is like mind-boggling to me, man. Because this provides a different kind of context, man. Because now it's like, oh, that's what happened, bro. Your boy went to Michigan and says, listen, I'm going to make sure that they stop with all this shit and bombing you guys. You guys are angry at Mr. Biden. I'm going to make sure that they stop killing y'all. Then he jumped into his car and got on the phone with Bibi. He said, yo, Bibi, listen, here's what's going to happen, bro. You and all your people, whoever wants to move in there, we're going to let you move in there. Here's what's going to happen, though. You have got to make sure we're going to announce this ceasefire, and here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to give you all that, but we're going to own the property. We're going to be the ones that are actually the landowners that have the final say. Well, there's nothing Bibi can say, because he knows what we all know. We could have stopped this by a simple phone call. Unbelievable.
We know their leader and their leaders very well. They're wonderful people, and they want peace in the Middle East. As far as Gaza is concerned,
the Saudis are wonderful people. Well, I believe, I know for a fact that any Saudi that you ran into in the street is a beautiful person. They're beautiful, peace-loving, decent, modest people. But their government is not that. Their government are not populated by good, honest, decent people.
so Saudi Arabia is going to be very helpful, and they have been very helpful. They want peace in the Middle East. It's very simple. We know their leader and their leaders very well. They're wonderful people, and they want peace in the Middle East. As far as Gaza is concerned, we'll do what is necessary. If it's necessary, we'll do that. We're going to take over that piece. We're going to develop it, create thousands and thousands of jobs, and it'll be something that the entire Middle East can be very proud of.
I don't know if you caught that or not, but what he just said here is worse to me than anything I hear anybody talking about in this situation. I'm going to play this again. I want you guys to understand this.
Leader and their leaders very well. They're wonderful people.
Yes, they're wonderful people who dismembered Jamal Khashoggi. Wonderful people. Like, look, I understand, we're not all of our leaders, man. They've all got blood on their hands, man. But why do we have to say they're wonderful people? How could they be wonderful people? They've been massacring these Yemeni kids. Like, what are we talking about here? Like, you don't have to say they're wonderful people, man. Good night.
And they want peace in the Middle East. As far as Gaza is concerned.
Right, because they're billionaires, and anybody who studies their Quran and Hadith and Sirah literature knows that they're really the greatest enemy and the greatest impediment to not only Palestinian freedom, but freedom for all Muslims all over the world, to be honest with you. Good night.
And we'll do what is necessary. If it's necessary, we'll do that.
We will do what's necessary if it's necessary. I just want you to hear that again. And remember the context. This answer is Mr. Trump answering the question, are we going to send American troops down there? And we deduce that the only reason for American military presence down there is if we tell these Gazans, we tell the Palestinians, get out of here, and they say no. And Trump says, if that happens, we're going to send the Saudis in so that you can roll camera and have these Saudis be the one displacing these people. So you can't blame Jews and you can't blame America. It's the Saudis, bro. Your own people did it. But then Trump says, if it gets to the point where we have to step in, that would mean Gazan resistance to the point that the Saudis look at us and say, we can't get this done. He's saying, cool, I will send American troops over there and we'll handle biz. That's what he's saying. And if it's not what he's saying, I am not crazy for interpreting it that way.
We're going to take over that piece, and we're going to develop it, create thousands and thousands of jobs, and it'll be something that the entire Middle East can be very proud of. But everybody feels that continuing the same process that's gone on forever, over and over again, and then it starts, and then the killing starts, and all of the other problems start, and you end up in the same place. And
he thinks Gaza is
passionate. I'm this very important caveat. Very important caveat. It is not Jews, it's Zionists. Jews have led the peace movement in the USA. Sam Seder, I am no fan of Sam Seder, but the man's last name is Seder. He's been a force for Palestinian justice for years. This is not the Jews. This is Zionism and colonialism. That's it. Man.
Beautiful, and they had the best weather. Today, as you mentioned, Riviera in the Middle East. It sounds like
all of the other problems start, and you end up in the same place. And
he thinks Gaza is beautiful, and they had the best weather. Today, as you mentioned, Riviera in the Middle East. It sounds like he's been talking about it like somewhere that they should build us sandals. And now he's talking about it like somewhere that the United States should go plant a flag.
Forcibly removing Palestinian.
Okay, again, that was Fox News, and we all know the deal with Fox News. But of course, Laura Ingraham and the rest of these weirdos, you see how she's here? Oh, yeah. Oh, he likes the weather over there. Oh, he really likes the weather over there. Oh, we can build the sandals over there. I don't know what a sandals is. Is that some sort of club or some, elite place where they get to waste a bunch of money and traffic children or whatever these people do? Here we go. Bill says, you never know with Trump. Sometimes he says stuff he truly means. Sometimes he's just saying something to start a point of negotiation. But this one is wild. I don't know. When you name drop Saudi Arabia, when you name drop the Saudis, I mean, he talked about the Jordanians and the Egyptians housing these folks. And then he talked about the Saudis giving military aid. That seems to me like a post-conference call discussion where you delegate roles, responsibilities, and procedures. That's what it sounds like to me. Sandals is a resort chain. So let's massacre these Gazan men, women, and children. And while the aroma of their blood is still in the ground, let's build a casino. A resort. God almighty. It feels like decades of half-truths and wishy-washy alliances and rhetoric and corporate manipulation and espionage and warmongering. And then he just gives a whole circus away in a 12-second clip. Yeah, that's one thing about Trump, man. What was he? Somebody posted on Middle America yesterday. He told the Ukrainians he wants to secure their natural resources or something. You know what? Let me ask Grok if there are natural resources over there in what do you call it? Let me specifically say Gaza. All right, guys. So Grok, which is Elon's thingamajig, by the way. This is from X. So don't hit me back and say I'm biased. By the way, I think if you ask anybody about me, they would tell you I have a pro-Trump bias. Relative to bias.
From their land is against international law.
I think we're being a little dramatic, and we're on our jump to conclusions, Matt, here a little bit. He muses occasionally.
Taking him at his word.
He muses occasionally.
Look,
and
just to be clear,
it's
because
provocative.
you're suggesting that we are making this up or
no, I'm not suggesting anything.
It.
No, you're putting words in my mouth.
Well,
you said she was being dramatic, bruh. I just heard the press conference. She wasn't being dramatic enough. The man said that he was going to send these people between Jordan and Egypt. Then he said he was going to send the Saudis to invite them to leave. Now, granted, I had to fill in some blanks. But please look at that press conference or those clips that I saw and tell me that I'm crazy for coming to that conclusion. And now that people are calling this out because it's an obvious atrocity, it's got to be illegal. Now you're saying that she's being dramatic. No, this is you gaslighting for Trump. This is insane. The man came out and said it. She's not being dramatic.
Saying you and I both know he muses occasionally, and he's aspirational, and he says provocative things occasionally.
I don't look. I really don't want to interrupt you, but
I'm sorry. See, this is what happens with some Trump people. It's like they're gonna fall back on this whole like don't take him literally, blah 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 blah. Like we know when Trump is saying shit off the cuff, but he name dropped specific nations. Okay, now to my knowledge, like, I just heard about this story. I'm reacting. I'm emotional. Maybe the Saudis have come out and said, we're not helping. We've never had a good discussion with Mr. Trump. But this does not seem, I mean, that was a very specific, are you going to send troops? Literally, all he had to say was, no, not right now. I don't see a reason to. Instead, he brings up the Saudis. See, I'm not like everybody. I don't think that Trump is stupid. I think he's incredibly intelligent, and I think there is a difference between a Trump that has thought something through and a Trump that is talking off the fly. This did not seem to be this guy's probably one of these permanent people that only has to support Trump. That's the role he plays. I don't see any way to wiggle around here when you're name dropping specific nations. Good night. Journalists have been in prison without trial to expose a fraction of what Trump just flippantly admits and always has been the modus operandi. Correct. That's the only positive out of this whole thing, is that we now can stop the persecution of our journalists for, for leaking shit now, because it's like we got somebody that's like, I'm gonna do this, this, and this, and now he's got a complete I want to see what the Republicans do with this, man. I really want to see what the Republicans do with this.
Just for my own, I think I have to come to my own defense here in saying Donald Trump, with his own words, said this is what he wants to do. He wasn't musing. He was looking down at a piece of paper. I've been in a room with him, like that, with foreign leaders, looking down at a piece of paper.
Let's let Kyle's statement here sit for a little bit. Let's let what Kyle just said sit for a little bit. It's funny that CNN are now on the side of the Palestinians now that Biden is out of office. Correct. Multiple things can be true at the same time. This is one of the most craven, disgusting, evil, vulture-like actions that America has ever done in my lifetime if we complete this action. But let's make no mistake about it. The folks on this network were instrumental in creating the conditions materially for Trump to be able to do this realistically. Let's never forget that. We're not going to make the mistake that everybody keeps making over and over again and point fingers at political parties and not looking at things from the truthful angle because we want to protect whatever. Or we want to use the suffering of Palestinian people to make some political point. Both of these people suck, and both of these people are genociding these people, and they have designs on their property and their resources. And yes, one is a lot worse than the other, but they live in the same neighborhood. We continue.
Is reading a statement that was prepared for him. Those are not musings.
Well, Scott, what happened to America first?
So I think
this is the guy who was supposed to take us out of the endless wars. Said he's against nation building. He railed against. I am.
I know. Playing the role of Catherine tonight. Red.
I do want Scott.
Are you for the ethnic cleansing?
I do want Scott to finish.
Look, I don't.
You're not for it?
I don't know that I agree with the terminology you're using. Here's what I think.
Oh man, there's nothing that annoys me more, man. You got a bunch of people out there fighting for their lives, and then here come the manicured, air-conditioned, made-up Americans. Well, I would know if I would classify it as. I mean, people have no idea how offensive that is. I was like watching Django or whatever, or one of these movies where like you have the little black servants in the back, and then the polite Southerners are are debating the merits of liberating the Negro, while this Negro's in the back here, and they're just talking about us like, it's like, well, I don't know if I would put it that way. Well, how do you put it? Oh man, we continue.
It's provocative. It's an interesting conversation point. Donald Trump, he's the only person in the world speaking positively about this particular geography right now. And I will just say,
that is a lie. The Gazans who died to stay there when they're facing certain death are making the statement about the value of that place without words. This is insane. What he means is he's the only voice I care about that has said anything positive about that area. The Gazans, the people that have been there for generations, have said wonderfully beautiful things about that area. What are you talking about? Oh. Nobody that you care about, nobody whose opinion you value, has said anything good about Gaza. That means you haven't listened to a single Palestinian.
we'll just say that in the first term, he did something rather audacious with the Abraham Accords, highly successful. He's always thought positively and aspirationally about the Middle East. And I would just ask all of you all who are enraged about this, how's it going right now? How's the current management doing? Not really all that.
This is a standard mafia / colonial tactic, right? You're out there in Brooklyn. You and your buddies pooled your money together for a year, and you bought yourself a pizza shop, and the pizza shop starts to take off. And then these people show up, Mr. Pesci and the rest of them, Mr. Gotti and the rest of them. They show up. They say, "Man, this is a beautiful establishment. It'd be really tragic if something happened to it. Hey, you know what? We are Italians, so let's go 50-50 into this place." And you say, I mean, there's no reason to go 50-50. I mean, we saved up our money and we all pulled it together and we're each getting 33.3, and so we're good. We're good. But yeah, I mean, yeah, here's a slice of pizza. And then the next day you show up and your window's broken. And the guys keep showing up, and then another window's broken, and then there's some mysterious fire, and then, you know, they show up and they say, "Man, there was a fire yesterday, man. Like, I really think we should make this deal, because how is not signing with us working out for you? How is not splitting this 50-50? How has it been working out for you?" It's literally, when he talked about the management, as if like the people in Gaza have elected a manager, and the reason that they're in the straits that they're in right now is because just bad management, man. It's bad management. See, this is what happens when you start looking at nations and countries as businesses. This guy sounds like every soulless corporate stooge I've ever seen in my life. I've been in offices, dear listener, where dudes are talking about the jobs and livelihoods of 3,000 people getting cut so you can get literally half of 1% off, so you could be a little bit greener than you were last year, so that you can get a $75,000 bonus. Wow. Jeez.
To answer you, and that's because of Americans' weapons and American inability to enforce.
You're blaming us for the management problems in Gaza?
Yeah, so you see that, you heard that.
You're blaming us for the... What did I just say? What are we talking about? What do you mean? Who was sending billions of dollars in military aid, training, and weapons and artillery, etc. to these people? Who was outsourcing our intelligence asset up in the sky and in space? Who was leasing that out to the Israelis again for the last 2 years? Hasn't even made the news. What are you talking? It's we're to blame for. Yes, we are to blame. Just like how we're to blame for Ukraine, Russia. Yes, we're to blame. We're to blame. Mr. Biden could have said, fuck no, I'm not giving you a single munition to fuck with those people. Matter of fact, we won't trade with you or talk to you. One phone call could have ended this, and you're going to say, you're blaming us for you're blaming. Yes, they're blaming us. So does God, by the way. We continue. Holy moly.
Now, before I give you guys my commentary, my opinion on this announcement, I want to play a clip, a flashback clip of me discussing this issue on the Jimmy Dore show, in which they asked me about this issue, and I just gave them my honest opinion, and the comment section was very, very, very upset with my brutally honest opinion about what I thought was going to happen in the long run when it came to this conflict involving Israel and Hamas and the Gaza Strip. Take a look.
So do you wish we could get a different one? I mean, what are your views on it?
My views on Israel, I'm a realist when it comes to kind of foreign policy and stuff like that. So I personally think that no matter what happens, eventually Israel's just going to take all the land. And it's not about if, it's about when and how. You know, are the Palestinians gonna leave, or is Israel going to take out enough of them to eventually take the whole Gaza Strip? That's what the question is about. It's not about if, it's about when. And I just don't think that they can live together peacefully. So at this point, it's really about, do we want to co-sign that happening? Yeah, so you seen that, you heard that. Now, in the comment section, an audience of leftists said that I was ignorant, that I was calloused, that I was cold, I was heartless.
Well, that is not the only solution. We are the biggest bullies in town. The Israelis are like 25% the size of Texas. So the idea that murdering a bunch of Palestinians and taking their shit in broad daylight is some inevitability, as if we have zero influence in that whatsoever, is crazy. Crazy.
That I support genocide, right? They accused me of all types of stuff. And I was just giving them my honest opinion. I didn't say I agreed or disagreed with it. I just gave my honest opinion based off what I thought was inevitable, which is that the Palestinians are going to have to leave that little strip of land, because it is plainly obvious. It is very clear that there will never...
No, I get Israelism, but we're America. We can boss around Israel if we chose to. Correct, Ian. You can't see. He understands the moral ramifications of what he's talking about, and he's trying to absolve himself of that by saying this is inevitable. No, it's not. No, it is not. No, it's not. All Trump has to do is get on front of TV and says, listen, AIPAC, all the rest of you, we're going to send you guys back to Israel. Get out of here. Simple. You guys don't start rebuilding that place in 48 fucking hours, you guys are all gone. Very, very simple.
Be a two-state solution. The only solution is for the stronger nation, which...
The only solution. Look, I'm not one of these Trump people, but the man just said the only solution is to get rid of these Gazans, because these folks over here have no interest in living side by side with them in peace. So let's just get the Gazans out. Let's just be real. How many black people lived and died in slavery? Because very nice white people had that idea. I hope you understand that the emancipation of the Negro was really fucking impractical. Matter of fact, go and look in your history books at a time when a nation that was striving for supremacy among competitors hamstrung themselves financially and otherwise, and destroyed themselves to accomplish a moral good. It is one of the rarest moments in history. And there was a lot of regular, nice, polite white people talking about, come on, let's just be realistic. Plus, if we let the Negroes go, what are they going to do? They can't work, they can't think, they're not like us, blah, 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 blah. And they sounded very reasonable. It's easy to talk about realism when you're living in a utopia and the other people are living in a dystopia. It's easy to say that.
Is Israel or the United States, because the United States is funding Israel. So basically, it's going to be Israel. It's going to be the United States. It's for the United States or Israel, some Western power, to occupy the territory. Now, what President Trump is proposing is slightly different from what I predicted, but I think that ultimately the end game will call for the Palestinians to be relocated. Now, how that's done, that's the key question. That's a lot more complicated, because at least up until now,
that's literally genocide, guys. Look, I have gone to war. I have gone to war with people over that term, because words have meanings. Words have meanings. I went to war with a bunch of social justice warriors, whatever they want to call themselves. Trans people are being genocided in America. No, the fuck you're not. No, the fuck you're not. This is genocide. Somebody misgendering you is not fucking genocide. Back to our regular, but this is the reason that shit pisses me off. Because we have these words for specific reasons and specific episodes in history. This is fucking genocide and ethnic cleansing, like textbook. 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 And now we're talking about the solution. The solution for the conflict in Gaza is to get all the Palestinians out and move Israelis in. Whether by bullet from an Israeli rifle or a Saudi rifle, but both of those rifles will have been financed and bought from the Americans. Our government, on the Democratic side and the Republican side, is having us take part in the cleansing of a people in broad daylight. We're talking about 2 million people. The Palestinians are so worn down and depressed and traumatized, and it's heartbreaking. The Israelis have from the beginning made a point to demoralize Palestinians on a routine basis. Just Google Israel, Palestine, Ramadan, and you will see in the highest, holiest month for these Palestinians, that's when the Israelis stir up all of this stuff and strife and all the rest of it. It is absolutely insane. They have been under severe psychological abuse. It's not even psychological operation. It's just pure psychological torture and abuse.
The Arab neighbors like Egypt and Jordan, they haven't really wanted to let the Palestinians in, okay? Partly because of the terror threat from Hamas, also because, like,
they don't want to let the Palestinians in because of the terror threat from Hamas. Bullshit. Bullshit. I haven't heard from them, but I could surmise that the reason that I don't even believe they're saying we're not going to take them in. I think that these people are saying we're not going to be party to your relocation program. So if you're going to displace and relocate these people, y'all figure it out. I could see them saying that, but I don't see them saying, oh, we hate Palestinians, blah, 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 blah. Insane.
They want the Palestinians to stay there so the conflict continues. Therefore, they can continue to essentially make Israel look like the bad guy, right, in the conflict. I'm not saying that, Israel's...
So I mean, this guy's usually pretty smart, but this is what happens when you cannot defend the indefensible. Look at the stupidity. Look at the stupidity of this thing here. Like they're saying that so that the Israelis can look like the bad guy? Newsflash. Literally everybody else in the world that knows about this topic views us as the bad guys and the Israelis as the bad guys because we are. This is insane. We just got done watching this movie with our community last night, and it was about like this abusive boyfriend who ends up killing the girl, and it was all just blaming her. Everything that he did to abuse her, destroy her, was her fault. It's incredible. And then when she would cry, he's like, "Oh, you're just trying to make me feel bad." It's like, okay, okay,
completely 100% innocent, right? I'm neutral, okay, when it comes to this stuff. But again, this idea that there will be a two-state solution and that the Palestinians will...
Apologies. I follow my favorite rabbi of all time. Made it very, very clear that in situations like this, there is no neutrality. There's no neutrality. I talked about the Swedish kids. You had these two Swedish kids riding on a bike going for a little neighborhood stroll in America, and there before them was a dude undressing a inebriated, unconscious young lady. You know what happened? Those two boys got off their bike, they jumped on dude, re-dignified the young lady, called the police, and stayed there till he got arrested. Only for a judge to say, we don't want to ruin this kid's life over one infraction and just let him go. Let him have his career. Well, what do you think about those two Swedish boys? If you were over there, would you say, hey man, this guy's out here sexually assaulting unconscious, inebriated woman in broad daylight by garbage, as if she's garbage? What do you guys think? And those two Swedish boys are supposed to be on the bike and say, we're neutral. We're neutral. There can never be neutrality in the face of a fucking genocide. The worst people in a genocide as it's happening are the neutral people. They're the absolute worst. There's some topics, dear listener, where there are not two sides. There are some topics that are black and white. Neutral.
Actually have their own state. It's almost as far-fetched as black people saying that there will be reparations, right? That's kind of the way I see it, right? It's one of those things where it's just like, okay,
I agree. I agree about us with the reparations. I agree. But here's the thing. My kids are going to be completely fine if I don't get reparations, bro. We're talking about displacing an entire group of people. And then let me ask the next question, dear listener. What's stopping the Israelis from then taking over the West Bank? If you could take 2 million people and just willy-nilly get them out of there in a year, kill a bunch of them, and then send the rest of them away. If you could do that in Gaza in broad daylight, what's stopping them from expanding to the West Bank? Somebody help me with that. When would it end for these Palestinians? Realistically speaking.
Who knows? Maybe it should have happened a long time ago, but it didn't happen. Okay, and now I just think that we're too deep into this conflict to get a two-state solution. The only solution, again, is for the land to essentially be fully occupied by some other entity. Because
some other entity. He can't bring himself to say it. So it's either the two-state solution or the final solution. You guys know me. I do not do the Hitler stuff. I don't do it. But this, I mean, they're using the terminology. Where else can I go?
Hamas is hell-bent on trying to destroy Israel. Israel is hell-bent on trying to take over the land.
Hamas is not hell-bent on trying to destroy Israel. If Hamas was hell-bent on trying to destroy Israel, it would not have taken them so long between the Intifada in Jenin and the attempted Intifada on October 7th last year. You have no idea what you're talking about. These are the kind of people that would try to make an equivalency between the Black Panthers and the KKK. Unbelievable. One group has all the power, another group has no power. One group has senators and presidents and legislators, another group has Dwayne down the street. These are not equivalent situations.
Yeah, this is just inevitable what's going to happen. And I think that President Trump is cutting through the BS. Now, again, there's a whole lot of questions about this. We just went over, the Palestinians.
Vin, why aren't other Arab and Muslim countries intervening? How are they letting their brethren get massacred? Because they're soft. And they're comfortable. And they don't really follow their Quran. Which, I got to tell you, as a person who loves Muslims to my bones, that's a net good for the world, because honestly they're supposed to be in a constant state of jihad fi sabilillah until everybody pledges allegiance to Allah as the only God and Muhammad as his messenger. So it's a double-edged sword. I wish they would follow their Quran and Hadith in this particular situation, but once you open the Pandora's box, you're really not going to be able to let it out. I mean, bring it back in. That's how I look at it.
Okay, will that be done voluntarily? Will that be done by force? If it has to be done by force, I don't want American troops to be involved, right? This is the one thing that I disagree with Trump over. I do not want American troops to...
Well, Trump doesn't want American troops involved either, and I don't think that he needs to. I think he's going to send those Saudis over there. The Saudis are going to do it, and I think that is going to finally and totally probably break the spirit of the Palestinian people when they see their own people joining arms with the Israelis. So yeah, I don't think you'll have to worry about those optics, man.
Die in order to establish this piece of territory in the Middle East. Okay, now if Israel wants to go and clean it out, which they basically already have done, hey, I'm not saying I agree with it. I'm not saying I support it. I'm just saying that, if it's going to be done, then, Israel can do it. But I don't think that we should have anything to do with that. Now,
that's why, there's all this stuff about, like, ways to prove that your faith is true and all the rest of it. But I'm sorry, man. Get me a story that speaks as clearly to the human condition more than the story of the Good Samaritan. Israelis and this other group called Samaritans, they were at war with each other. They destroyed each other's temples, killed each other, all type of shit. This Jewish guy is going down this thoroughfare. A bunch of people jump him, beat the hell out of him with an inch of his life. They think he's dead. There's a Jewish guy on the ground. First guy comes over, he's a Levite. He's a priest. He's supposed to be the guy that brings all the people to God. The Levite sees that guy and says, ugh, I got to get out of here. He crosses the street. Then there's a Bible expert, and the Bible expert crosses the street. Then there's a pastor of a church of 10,000 people, and he crosses the street. Then there's this Samaritan who's supposed to hate this man, and he picks him up, and he puts him on his camel, and he walks the miles, and he puts the guy in a hotel, and he spends all his money to make sure he's got ointments and all type of shit to heal the guy. And then he goes to the hotel guy and says, listen, keep this guy here for as long as he needs to be here, and then when I come back again from my trip, I'm a regular, I'll pay you double for that. That's a story Jesus told. And you know the brilliance of that story? Everybody knows the people that assaulted that guy were horrible, nasty people. But what he showed us is, if you do nothing, and if you stay neutral, you're the worst of all. You know what that Good Samaritan parable, I don't know if you're a church person or not, but every time we talk about the bad guys in the Good Samaritan parable, people almost never talk about the robbers. They never talk about the robbers. They talk about the Jew who should have had a compassion on his own person, and he crossed the street. The neutral person in the Good Samaritan story is the real villain. I'm not saying I got a little YouTube channel. Nigga, you got 897,000 followers. You can't get on here and tell these people to have some morality? You're not going to strap up and go over there, bro. I know that. Everybody knows I'm not going to strap up and go over there, but you can't talk. You can't say this is wrong. This is thievery. This is ethnic cleansing. What are we doing?
If the job of the American soldiers is to go in and then, prepare the land and help rebuild the territory after all the Palestinians are gone for the most part, and there's no threat of soldiers dying, then, hey, I'm not saying that I necessarily agree with it. I'm just saying that probably is the ideal scenario. And having this territory become U.S. territory is probably the best solution for long-lasting peace, because at the very least you can say, well, Israel didn't really take it. The United States took it. And, hey, this is one conflict that we just don't have to worry about anymore, okay? So, I don't know, man. I'm just saying that I don't see how what other people are putting out there, right? The people who are upset with President Trump putting this out there, right? The people who are hell-bent on this two-state solution happening, that is not going to happen. I'm trying to figure out, how is this the moral position when that just leads to more Palestinians dying in the future? The same thing is going to happen over and over and over again. And guess what? We've spent billions of dollars giving aid to the Palestinians in the West Bank and in Gaza. 7.6 billion from
There you go. What did I say? What did I say? If they took Gaza, what's stopping them from taking the West Bank? You think these people gonna stop there? Oh, okay, we just cleansed 2 million people. We just cleansed 2 million people out of this land. Let's just stop there. We're good. What in Israel's recent history has shown you that they would stop there?
1993 to 2021. Now, we also have provided billions of dollars in aid to Gaza from October 7, 2023 to today of $2.1 billion. So we're talking about $10 billion plus in aid to Gaza. Now, in the world that these protesters want, where Gaza gets its two-state...
That's not even 10% of Elon Musk's personal GDP.
Solution, which again is not going to happen because Israel's not going to let it happen. They would never let the Palestinians get a state, a full-blown state on their borders with Hamas and it's just not going to happen. But anyways, if they got it their way and we continue with the status quo of rebuilding and then Israel destroying the place, we're just going to keep spending billions and billions and billions on a conflict that's never going to end. It's never going to end.
No, the conflict could end pretty easily. As I said, I think Israel is like 20% the size of Texas, and the Palestinians have even less control of that. So we all know if we wanted to stop the Russians, we could stop them tomorrow. And the Russians have an air force. They have a nuclear arsenal. The Palestinians have nothing. So it's not like it's been the clash of the Titans and there's been this stalemate and draw. It's one group of people that have an overwhelming advantage over another group of people who have been illegally murdering, displacing, raping, abusing, and torturing these people. The picture that this guy is painting, all of this is moral cope. I don't care what you believe or what you don't believe, what you claim you believe, what you claim you don't believe. I don't care about none of that. At the end of the day, I'm a natural law guy, and I'm pretty sure this guy understands that this is just a pure violation of natural and international law. And there is no credible moral system that can look at this apathy and this neutrality as anything other than what it is, which is covetousness and cowardice. And the Bible is very, very clear. You know, you got all these people that go to hell at the end. Jesus says, outside are the dogs. Can you imagine that? If you're on the wrong side of this thing by the end of the world, you lose your status as an image of God and Jesus Christ himself. Outside are the dogs, he says. Well, what are the dogs characterized by? Well, you know, sexual immorality, murderers, liars. Yup. Get them, Jesus. The cowardly. Literally. At the end of the Bible, gentle Jesus, meek and mild, says, the inhabitants of the zombie world that is going to progress into more zombie hell for eternity, they're characterized by sexual perversion, witchcraft, murdering, lying, and cowardice. Coward says, "What the hell? How are you gonna put me in the same hell as a murderer and a rapist? Just because I'm a coward?" Yeah, because cowardice is an act of self-love in the face of danger. There is no price that this dude is gonna pay in blood to say this is a moral evil. This neutrality is cowardice. If we're talking about who the greatest basketball player is of all time, and you've got a friend who's delusional, who doesn't understand that LeBron James is head and shoulders the best basketball player of all time, right? That's something you can remain neutral on. You don't need to educate him. But when we're talking about massacring human beings created in the image and likeness of God, and then taking the survivors and dispersing them throughout the earth so that we could gobble up their resources and enrich ourselves and our children. There is no neutrality about that. There is only righteousness or cowardice. That's it. Yes, dear listener, some things are black and white.
So what you're going to have here is a bunch of leftists. They're going to pretend as if they're on some moral high ground here, as if what Trump is proposing is...
Good question. What is the difference between being fearful and being cowardly? Very good. Being fearful means that you have an instinct to live, because the fear mechanism is given to us by a loving God in a fallen world to maintain our lives. So there is no moral value to being afraid or not afraid. Cowardice is prioritizing self in the face of fear. That's what cowardice is. Cowardice is prioritizing self in the face of fear. Jesus was terrified to go to the cross. He said, if there's any other way, get me out of this thing. Bible's very real. Wasn't he God? Yup. Wasn't he a perfect human? Yup. And he was looking at that cross and he says, man, get me out of here. Then he said, but if there's no other way, not my will, but your will. God said, Jesus, if you don't go to that cross, then Ian's going to have to take the bullet. And Jesus couldn't live in a universe where that was the case. He was terrified. But he prioritized you. He prioritized me. And Bibi Netanyahu and Donald Trump. And he went to that cross. And that's why Jesus says there's no cowards in heaven. Jesus is never going to call us to do something that he didn't do first. This guy doesn't want to carry the cross because he doesn't want the people in the comment section to say mean things to him. Because the sponsor might not sponsor him again next week.
Immoral, and what they're proposing is moral, but in their world, in their ideal scenario, their solution is not a moral solution. Their solution just results in more deaths of Palestinians.
Ideal scenario? Oh, I don't think so, brother. The ideal scenario would be the Americans saying the next bullet that gets fired at a Palestinian child is going to result in massive sanctions on you people. Oh, there's a lot of things in an ideal world that would not result in death for anybody, Israeli or Palestinian. You're too smart. I don't care what anybody says. You do not get to 897,000 subs on YouTube by being an idiot. You are way too smart to believe that these are the only solution, the final solution, or a two-state solution. There's nothing in between. Ridiculous. We continue.
Palestinians. That's it. That's all the results here. At least with President Trump's solution, you have less Palestinians dying. Now, I'm not even saying that I agree with it, okay? I haven't marinated on the news long enough to say, well...
Right. As I said, this guy understands that what we're talking about here is just pure ethnic cleansing, and it is a stain on the American people if this actually goes the way that this man says it's going to go. So he's going to... well, I haven't really sat and thought about it. Yeah, I bet you haven't, bro. I bet you haven't. I bet you haven't. Just following orders and shit, right?
And I agree or disagree with it. I got to see the details in regards to what's the plan here, right? What exactly is happening. Now, I wouldn't say this is necessarily like Iraq or anything like that. A lot of people are saying that this is some George W. Bush type stuff. And I actually disagree with that, because the difference is that we're not going to be nation building in the sense that we're going to be propping up a puppet government of some other country that, you know, we really don't have control over, but we pretend like we do. No, this is going to be direct U.S. control, okay? Direct U.S. control, so it's going to be a little bit different. And agree or disagree with it, you have to admit that this is different than the status quo. It's different from what we've been doing in the past. What we've done in the past has failed.
All right, guys, type 22. Grok has come back to me with a answer about the resources in Gaza. So if you guys want to hear about that, type 22. We got 2 minutes for this guy to talk left. We continue.
Okay, these two groups of people do not want to live together peacefully, and at some point you got...
That's not true. The Palestinians would love to live peacefully with their Israeli neighbors.
Got to try something different, right? You got to mix it up and say, hey, let's do something else. So, you know, I don't know what's going to come of this. All I know is that this is inevitable, right? It's going to happen. Now, I was off a little bit, right? I said that Israel would take it over, but I mean, effectively, even if it's U.S. territory, Israel will probably have significant control and influence over the area.
You think?
And ultimately, we'll profit from it.
Look, this when this is all over, this is going to be known as the Trump doctrine, where if we go into a country and provide any aid or assistance, that country is going to have to pay up in natural resources. Remember the whole ISIS situation? We blitzed Baghdadi over there and killed all them people, and they're like, all right, good, you're going to give the oil back now to the Iraqis and all the rest of it. And he's like, well, why should we do that? We spent a lot of money to go fight these people, and you know, we had to send our troops over here. We got people that died, so I think we're just going to keep the oil for ourselves, and we'll see what we can do. Sell it back to them. Talking about helping Ukraine, he wants the natural resources. What was it? Lithium, Maida. Somebody posted on Middle America. I'll tell you guys, sign up. You get more details. The Ukrainians, there's like natural resources there, and he's talking about, oh yeah, lithium, blah 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 blah. How much you want to bet that there's some sort of natural resource over there that we are basically going to take a 70-30 split with the Israelis on? How much you want to bet he says, listen, you guys can have all this wonderful beachfront property, blah, 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 and there's some natural resource or whatever we're going to be able to take care of? I can acknowledge the probable likelihoods of best and worst case scenarios, but utilitarianism is deterministic and inherently devoid of all moral application. Correct. And this is a complete and total totalitarian and utilitarian in its philosophy and application for sure.
Okay, we'll turn it into, you know, Dubai. That's essentially, I think, what the vision is from President Trump, right? President Trump is a real estate guy, and he sees that as a piece of real estate that has been destroyed over and over and over again. And he sees that if we continue with the status quo of spending money to rebuild it and then turning around and having Israel destroy it, again, that it just doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. It's just more bloodshed and conflict unnecessarily. And as Trump is essentially advocating for, just get it over with, right? This is inevitable. Israel wants the land. They want it. They're going to take it eventually. Again, whether or not people like hearing that's just...
This is so crazy to me. It's inevitable that they're going to take the land. You know what's crazy to me? Here's what's crazy to me. Just 2 days ago, Donald Trump posted something about the South Africans are taking land away from white farmers, and I'm not going to stand for it. Well, why don't we just use the same logic and say, listen, man, it hasn't worked out for white people in South Africa since Nelson Mandela and stuff, and, they should just leave. You know what's funny? Them white folks ain't indigenous to South Africa. Y'all know what happened over there. But he's upset for man, those poor South Africans. Wow, man. So he says, I won't stand for it. I'm not gonna stand for it. Hold on, let me make sure. I get the tweet. It's crazy because it was on True Social or some shit. This is unbelievable. Unbelievable. Hold on, I'm gonna find it, and then the people have spoken. So yeah, here we go. Well, first he brought that up in 2018. I've asked Secretary of State Pompeo to closely study the South Africa land and farm seizures and expropriations of large-scale killings of farmers. South African government is now seizing land from white farmers, Tucker Carlson. And then a couple days ago, he said, I am not going to stand. I will not stand for it. There you go. Right there, 225. This is incredible. The hypocrisy is incredible. And if I was able to speak to this brother right now, this dude on YouTube, I would really need him to explain to me how he reconciles these two ideas, because they're literally impossible to reconcile. Here we go. This is incredible. Incredible. Jesus of Nazareth, have mercy on my country. Here you go. South Africa, he said this 2 days ago, is confiscating land and treating certain classes of people very badly, all caps. What classes of people would that be? You know it's not a class issue over there in South Africa, dear listener. It's a race issue. But he doesn't want to say, hey, there's a bunch of Negroes over there persecuting the minority whites over there who took all their land by colonialism, and now that they're getting a taste of their own medicine, I'm not going to stand for it. Look what he says. Certain classes of people very badly. It's a bad situation that the radical left media doesn't want as so much as mention. A massive human rights, all caps, violation at a minimum. It's happening for all to see. The United States won't stand for it. We will act. Also, I will be cutting off all future funding to South Africa until a full investigation of the situation has been completed. Let me get this straight. These Europeans coming to South Africa, rape the land, rape the woman, murder the men. Nelson Mandela in prison for 20 fucking years. These people fought, got their independence, got their land back, and started taking their land back from the settlers. Some of these people were still alive. That is terrible, and Trump won't stand for it. It must be stopped immediately. But these Palestinians, hey man, yeah, they're killing you, torturing your kids, violating human rights, raping women, leaving them naked outside, all that stuff. Yeah, man, it's really, really terrible. Why don't you guys just go to Egypt and Jordan or something and let me build up another resort over here? Everybody would be good. You can't make this stuff up. You cannot make this stuff up. You can't. Allahu Akbar, we continue.
That's just what I think is going to happen. And this could be the most peaceful way of the inevitable happening, right? That's essentially what I'm...
I love Kyle. See, all my racist friends, like, I love it. I love it. Yeah, like, I can tolerate a guy like Trump or somebody like that, but the white people who had nothing to say to Mr. Biden, some of y'all are in this room. You had not a fucking word to say. You had no anger for Mr. Biden when he was sending billions of dollars to kill these people. So if you were quiet during the whole Biden thing, please don't make me fucking find you saying a fucking word about this. Because I've had it up to fucking here with white people who use the suffering of brown people as a political tool. If you didn't say anything with Biden, shut the fuck up. Honestly. I don't even want to fucking hear it. Because you're just as sickening to me as this guy right here. Both of you. Oh yeah. I'm in a mood today, Lord.
Trying to say. So again, my argument is not whether it's right or wrong, whether I agree or disagree with it, that's not the argument here. I would rather not see the U.S. military be involved in this. Okay, I would rather kind of stay over here in America and not have America in the Middle East. But I'm just saying that based off what we've done in the past, we're going to be committing billions and billions and billions of dollars to once again build up an area of land that eventually will be destroyed again by Israel.
We owe them that because we sent billions to their enemies to destroy them.
Because Hamas is going to keep attacking Israel, and Israel really wants the land. They're going to try to take it anyway. Like, that conflict's just never going to end. And maybe this could be the best way of ending the conflict. And again, right or wrong, whether you agree or disagree with what President Trump is doing, this is different from what we've been doing. And I think that is what makes this a very fascinating proposal. So let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.
We already know what Malcolm X said about white liberals. Yep, Danny. We also know what Brother Martin said about the white moderate. Got a lot of white moderates in here. Got a lot of white moderates now who are actually happy that Trump is doing this. They're actually happy. It's disgusting. All right, let me read. We've got Al Mayata. Salam alaikum, brother. He's in Jordan. Let's hear what he has to say. I live in Jordan. Let me tell you, no one in Jordan is on board with this, specifically the Palestinian refugees from past wars. Yeah, I assumed that you guys would not. Give me a second. Give me 1 second. What about now? Can you hear me now? Check my melody. Okay, we should be good now. Volume's up. Malik, can you explicate a little bit more as a Jordanian what you mean by we're not on board with it? And granted, I'm not trying to get you to speak for all of Jordan. I'm just trying to get you to speak for yourself as a Jordanian. Explicate a little bit more. Somebody should tell Black conservative perspective that Israel funded Hamas. All right, guys, you guys have spoken. Here is what because I was curious about the natural resources in Gaza. I was curious. I was like, let me look at this. Let me look at these natural resources in Gaza real quick. So this is what Grok gave me. Now, keep in mind, Grok is AI. You guys know how I am with research. I do not count an answer for Grok from Grok as equivalent to an answer of like a .edu or .gov or whatever. It may be, but right now I don't look at it that way. But anyway, this is what Grok spit out. I thought it was really interesting, and it'll give us all something to research for if we want to continue. But here you go. Discovery. Gas reserves were discovered in Gaza, in the Gaza Marine Field in 2000 by the British Gas Group. Quantity. The Gaza Marine Field is estimated to at least 1 trillion cubic feet of natural gas. The Gaza Marine Field is estimated to contain at least 1 trillion cubic feet of natural gas. The economic potential of these gas reserves varies based on different sources. A UNCTAD, the United Nations Conference and Trade Development Group, report from 2019 suggests that the total oil and gas reserves in the border region, which includes Gaza, could be worth around $524 billion. However, this figure includes not just Gaza's reserves, but also those in the West Bank and possibly extending into shared maritime zones. Well, isn't that interesting? What were the places we've been talking about all night? Gaza and what? The West Bank. If you take the gas reserves of Gaza and the West Bank That is $500 billion in energy. Who are we getting into a giant pissing contest with right now about energy? And oh, that's right, we're talking to the Canadians, right? We're saying we don't need you guys for fuel or energy. But now we've got an area that's $500 billion worth of natural gas. Which guarantees that the West Bank is next, dear listener. I said it here. Watch. The West Bank is next. Now we're starting to figure it out. I see there's $500 billion worth of natural gas in that area and the West Bank combined. Interesting. More specifically for Gaza, one source mentioned that the Gaza Marine field could generate approximately $2.4 billion in royalty and profits over its lifetime. Those are really different numbers, man. Other natural resources. The primary natural resource directly linked to economic value in Gaza, aside from the natural gas, includes arable land, which is crucial for agriculture. However, in terms of monetary value, the natural gas off the coast is the most significant discussed in economic terms. Okay, so we've got arable land over there as well as $500 billion of natural gas. I don't know, guys. That sounds to me like a pretty good startup for an independent state. You've got a great natural resources that's in demand from everybody, and you've got arable land, and it's beautiful out there. They can eke out a little existence over there and be actually pretty happy, right? Challenges and context. The development of these gas fields has been stalled. Why? Due to political insecurity issues, particularly following the Hamas takeover in 2007. Really? Takeover? I'm pretty sure they were elected. This has led to a situation where, despite the known reserves, no significant exploitation or development has occurred, largely because of the blockade and the territorial disputes between Israel, Hamas, and the Palestinian Authority. How much you want to bet Israel is the real stake in the wheel there? The rights of these resources are contentious. According to the Oslo Accords, the Palestinian Authority has maritime jurisdiction up to 20 nautical miles from Gaza's coast, but the practical control, exploitation, and benefit from these resources remain unresolved due to Israeli control over Gaza's borders and waters. The inability to exploit these resources has meant that Gaza has not benefited economically from what could be a significant source of revenue contributing to its economic plight. In summary, while Gaza sits atop natural gas reserves potentially worth billions, the actual realization of the economic value, etc., Israelis and Americans. There we go. There we go. Now we know. Now we know. That's how Trump sat down with Bibi. He says, listen, we've got $500 billion between the Gaza Strip and the West Bank. I'm going to make it so that we stop the killing. Everybody's going to celebrate. You'll have a wonderful photo op. And then we're going to go and systemically uproot these people. And we're going to take control of that natural gas. We will take 70%. You guys can have 30%. How much you want to bet that's what happened? That's exactly what happened. And so when that happens, if the Gazans fold, if the Palestinian people fold immediately, he can then go back to Canada and say, double fuck you. We've got another energy source here that's all ours because we're going down there to occupy it. So we're going to send America down there. We're going to say we occupy that land so we can secure our 70%. And make sure the Israelis give us a cut that we want. But as far as living there, all you Israelis that have been sitting around there, you guys live there after it gets rebuilt up. So you guys will get the arable land and 30% of the natural gas revenue, and we'll take 70. Whatever the split is. How much you want to bet that's what happened? Now, if you're thinking America first, America comes out winning golden here. Because we don't have to sacrifice American boys to make this happen. And we're going to have another income stream because of this. And then we can really bully Mexico and China now with these trade wars. So if you're thinking from an America first, purely Machiavellian perspective, this is brilliant on the side of Mr. Trump. This is brilliant. This is a brilliant, elegant solution if all you're worried about is America first. And if all you're worried about is benefiting you and your people and fuck everybody else, this is brilliant. And this is why mocking your enemy and saying your enemy's a moron and doing all this other shit, like it might feel good to you, but you're putting out into the zeitgeist, underestimate this dude. This dude is brilliant. Our enemy in the scripture is the devil, and God goes out of his way to mock him a bunch of times. But when he gets introduced, it says, be careful, man. This dude is more crafty than all the beasts of the field. This is a crafty dude. He's a genius. He's brilliant. A lot of MAGA Trump people that I know are not for this. Trump will hear from us. Zion Oil and Gas Inc. has been advertising heavily on Twitter regarding real estate literally in Gazan territory for like a year and a half. Many of you have probably seen the ads. Jesus. All right, I'm going to end with what Kyle has to say. Mr. Trump is putting this out there. I think some of this is about testing the resolve of Palestinian people. I also think this is really him also testing the resolve of his base. And this is why I'm so mad at this dude. Bro, you got 897,000 subs. And instead of you, and you know that Trump is looking at this shit. And instead of using it to you don't even have to advocate for Gaza. You can advocate for America, because I'm telling y'all, there is a God in heaven. And if we think we could just do this to people and it's not going to blow back on us somehow, go for it, bruh. I'm not like these, whatever these people are, who are just going to cry for Palestinians when the political side I'm closer to is on the other side of it. Like some of you sick hypocrites. You know who you are. The fact that this dude, like the fact that the mind is working that way, is not shocking to me. I appreciate Trump's explicitness about it, instead of Biden's decent talk about it while funding billions to these fucking murderers. And that's why I'm telling you, if you're a Biden supporter and all the rest of it, if you voted for Joe Biden, you really need to sit this one out, man. You really, really, really need to sit this one out and close your mouth. Because it's disgusting to use the suffering of these people as a political cudgel. But you didn't care about it before. I cannot tell you how much I loathe people like that. Loathe. You're sitting home behind your computer. You've never done anything in your life even close to the suffering that these people had. But when your political party was doing all that shit, you look the other way or you make a post to pay lip service on it. But all the invective and emotion that I'm seeing right now, you never had it before. Disgusting people. Anyway, I really, really appreciate my man Kyle, because me and Kyle, I am certain, have different ideas on race and stuff. But I love how straight up this dude is. And I appreciate the fact that, unlike some people, you're willing to criticize the dude that you voted for, man. I appreciate that. And I've always said about MAGA people, you can call them cultists if you want. You can call MAGA people cultists if you want. But, we're gonna see. We're gonna see in the next coming days what people, what folks are on. I've seen people on the MAGA side call out Trump when they disagree with him, but this is one of the double-edged swords of having a president that actually listens to you. Because if he checks out the blogosphere and the whatever sphere and he comes to the conclusion that generally speaking he can get away with this bullshit, he's gonna do it. But he has demonstrated that he will back down if his base turns against the idea. So really a lot of whether or not Trump does anything really is going to come down to what the vanguard of the right-wing media apparatus, the famous right-wing echo chamber, Mr. Rogan, you got to say some shit, bruh. You got to say some shit. This man made you $7 million in 3 hours. You got to say some shit, Mr. Rogan. Aiden Ross, all of you. It was all fun a week ago when when you were getting shouted out by the president on TV, and everybody in America knew about your little YouTube channel. Now you have an opportunity. God gave you power. God gave you influence. Everybody's looking at you. What are y'all gonna do with it? It could be a MAGA civil war of this. I don't think there will be, because if there's enough of people like you with character, Trump doesn't want to divide his base either. His base, for the most part, has been homogenous, right? And so, I think part of his brilliant is understanding what his base is. So I don't think that he's going to even, if it gets to the point where there's enough voices, Candace, we can rely on Candace. I think Candace is going to say the right thing here. But if there's Candace, if there's Joe Rogan and all the rest of them, people start articulating this is fucked up. That's why that Scott dude, and look, I like that Scott dude on CNN, the one Republican guy, but him running interference for this bullshit makes no sense to me. Well, it makes sense to me, but it's a complete misreading of the situation that we're in. This man actually makes policy based on the opinion of his base. And he garners information about what his base is thinking by looking at certain social media heads. Now, as I'm saying this, part of me is like, you dummy. You don't think that Trump has already sent information out to these various people, cut various people certain checks, not even to speak about it, but to keep quiet about it? Brutal. Brutal, brutal, brutal. Brutal, brutal. I'm sure Jimmy Dore is going to come out and say the same thing, but to be honest with you, I think that Trump looks at people like Jimmy as useful. I'm not going to say useful idiot, because Jimmy Dore, to me, is one of the most intelligent political thinkers of my time. So I'm not going to go with this silly millennial idea that everybody that I don't like is dumb and stupid and whatever. Man, this one was a doozy, guys. This one was a doozy. I agree, Dave Smith. Yeah. I think Rogan will probably push back. I really hope it. I agree with Kyle. Like, this better not come to this, man. You know, and it's one of those things where, like, you want to be like, come on, guys, this is America, blah, 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 we're better than this, blah, 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 but we're not better than this, man. I love my country. Like, you have no idea how much I love this country, y'all, but this is absolutely who we are. Absolutely who we are. This is just not right. And if anything, I at least have a pathetic record in history that me and my friends here said that this wasn't right. At least I got that. If I did not... All right, guys. Much love to you, beautiful people. Shout out to Maida for getting me on the trail. More to come. I'm gonna pray against this. Praying people, you gotta pray against this shit. But, you know, is it gonna happen exactly this way? I really think it depends on us. I really do. We are the media. In this situation, I really, really, truly believe it depends on us. And unfortunately, the problem is because as the president, it's not like you can look at 10,000 YouTube channels. He's going to look at the ones that he went to and Rogan and the rest of it, and to try to get a feel of the zeitgeist. But if I see Khalid, I see a lot of people, I see Kyle, I see people from all walks being against this shit. And the two apologists that were trying to sane wash this, you could tell both of them. One was white, middle-aged guy, one was millennial black guy, and both of them had the same level of discomfort / disgust with what was going on. So maybe that's a good sign. But to me, a guy like Trump needs to hear things, and I'm not being disrespectful. He just needs to hear things in plain English, black and white. So I think that this was him testing us, and we'll see how we respond to it, inshallah. He telegraphed this with his foreign policy cabinet. We knew it was coming, sad but not shocked. Yeah, my son hit me up when he got Rubio in there. Yeah. All right, guys. I hope Trump backpedals this whole situation. Pray, Hunter. Pray. Who knows? All right, guys. We are out of here. Much love to all you beautiful people. Love your neighbor. Take care of each other. Middle America, we are the media. And look, we are the media. So we know that this video and nothing I say is going to get to Trump. But remember, anything you say publicly goes into the collective consciousness. I know that's woo-woo for some of you. But this was the social media election. And so cumulatively together, we can do stuff. But you gotta at least for your own self have a record that when this shit went down, I said something. They started jigging babies, 9-month-old babies in New York, I said something. When they try to ethnically cleanse the Palestinians, I said something. Don't you want like a record that you can show your kids and your grandkids when righteousness prevails? Anyway, much love to all you beautiful people. I'll check you guys later. Check you guys later, man. Love your neighbor. Take care of each other. Middle America, we are the media. Last thing I'll say, guys, make sure that everything that you communicate about this topic is factual. If you hear something like crazy, mega crazy, have it verified 2 or 3 more times before you post it. This is a very important time to be right about this stuff. I'm not saying you have to be like me and prep 2 or 3 hours or whatever, but do your best to make sure that we're communicating equitably and truthfully. All right? Larry, much love. Matthew Maeda. Again, guys, if you want to run into the brilliant Matthew Maeda as the guy that is responsible for this monstrosity of the video, Facebook.com/America Middle. He is basically the president of that. I mean, I started it, but, I've been blocked in my own channel. It's a free speech environment, and I'll say he's fair and just and all that stuff. Plus, it's there's Larry, everybody's over there. So Facebook.com/America Middle. Shout out to Stacy Michelle. I did not see you earlier, just discovered the site. I appreciate it. All right. I'm Team Applejack, sorry. Well, I'm Team Applejack too. What you talking about? I've been Team Applejack. That's my boy. Like, literally, I talk to dude every day. So, I don't know if there's some jihad going on. But like I said, it's a free speech environment over there, guys. So sometimes it gets a little crazy. Elon Musk's database runs the treasury. His PayPal co-founder Peter Thiel's database runs the NSA. I cannot even tell you guys how bad that Peter Thiel NSA thing is. Like, I cannot tell you how crazy that is. Trump some of the most brilliant people that have ever walked this planet are with this man, are walking with Trump right now. And I think this elegant America First nightmare of morality that we just got discussing for the last 2 hours, I think was architected at least at the psychological level by those two, for sure. So, yeah, man. Dan, great discussion. I'll be back to continue to talk about it. Love your neighbor. Take care of each other, guys. Middle America. We are the media. Till next time. Yeah, Hunter. Yeah, we'll pray together. Shit, man. If you're up in like 3 or 4 hours, I'll probably call you. We'll pray for the Palestinians and shit. Pray for our president that he doesn't do things that invite the wrath of God on our heads. I'm being dead serious. We got to pray for our friends because we got a lot of people that are not ready to meet the judgment that God should visit on us. I know you're ready. I know my people are ready, but we need more time for this country. But you're going to have a very hard time convincing me that there is a God in heaven if he just sits there and lets this happen and we don't pay some price for it. Love you guys.